Look at the spoon in your hand. It's tiny, just a little curl of cheap metal, the kind that shows up free inside a jar of instant coffee. You dip it into the sugar, you tap it into your cup, and honestly, you don't even think about it. It's gone before you finish stirring. There's nothing dramatic about that moment. It feels like nothing at all. Just a habit, background noise on a regular morning. But here's the thing. While your brain checks out, your tongue is running an ancient program. Those little receptors light up the second that sweetness hits. And that reaction, it's older than you, older than humans, older than the ground you're standing on right now. So here's a simple question with a shockingly weird answer. When did people first start eating sugar? And real quick, if you're the kind of person who loves this stuff, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It's free, it takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps tiny channels like this one keep making videos. That's it. Back to the story. Because you'd think this question has a clean answer, right? A date, a place, a first bite. It doesn't. And the truth is way stranger. The craving for sugar showed up tens of millions of years before actual sugar did. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a forest that's long gone now. Northern Egypt, more than 30 million years ago, back when it was thick, wet woodland instead of desert. And up in those trees, there's a small primate. Not quite a monkey, not quite an ape, but an ancestor of both. And it's making a choice about what to eat. It's got options. On one side, hard nuts and seeds, tough, protected by shells you have to fight to crack open. On the other side, soft, ripe fruit. Easy. Loaded with sugar, the body can burn almost instantly. Now, this isn't a small choice. Think about it. There's no fridge, no farming, no promise of a meal tomorrow. So building your whole diet around slow, hard-to-get calories versus fast, sweet, easy calories, that's two totally different ways to survive. Hard food hides its energy behind hard work. Soft, sweet fruit basically hands it over for free, but only when it's ripe, and only if you grab it before someone else does. And whatever that little primate chose, it left a mark. Not in a diary, in its teeth. See, teeth don't lie. They chip when they smash into something hard. They rot when they sit in sugar long enough for bacteria to feast. A skeleton can't tell you what an animal wanted, but it can tell you with scary accuracy what it actually chewed, day after day, for its whole life. And that's exactly the puzzle a group of scientists went after. They used fossils from a place in Egypt called the Fayum Depression, one of the richest fossil sites on Earth, for understanding how monkeys and apes got started. And what they pulled out of those ancient teeth says something wild, not just about extinct animals, but about you reaching for that spoon. The team looked at 421 fossilized teeth from 5 different groups of early primates, the ancestors of every monkey and ape alive today, humans included. And they were hunting for 2 clues: chips, which mean biting hard stuff, and cavities, which in living primates scream soft, sugary fruit diet. The results were lopsided. Only about 5% of the teeth had any chipping. That's crazy low compared to modern primates that crack nuts all the time. And the cavities? They pointed right at animals munching soft, ripe fruit on the regular. One of the researchers put it simply: the evidence points to a taste for soft, sugary fruits. And that's not some tiny footnote. That's a straight line running from an animal that lived 40 million years ago all the way to the biology sitting inside your mouth right now. Because your ability to taste sweetness didn't just pop up in humans by accident. It's carried by a gene, one that runs through the whole primate family tree, shaped over millions of years by exactly this kind of pressure. Animals that could taste and crave sugar found fast energy. Animals that couldn't, they lost. Now, here's the part that flips everything. We love to picture our ancestors as tough, lean, meat-eating survivors. And we treat sugar like some soft, modern thing stacked on top. But the fossils say the opposite. Soft, sweet fruit might have been the original diet, the default. the easy energy choice, long before any human ever picked up a spear or lit a fire. So your sweet tooth isn't some weak modern add-on. It's one of the oldest instincts your body owns. Now, don't get it twisted. These early primates weren't living in some endless fruit buffet. Fruit seasons are unpredictable. Everybody's fighting for it. Birds, bugs, other primates, all racing for that tiny window before the fruit peaks and drops. So an animal obsessed with sweetness had a real edge, as long as it could find that fruit fast enough and often enough to matter. And that pressure, it didn't vanish when our own ancestors split off. It just changed shape. Because early humans in Africa found something even sweeter than fruit, honey. And getting it meant one of the most dangerous trades in nature. Pure, fast-burning sugar, guarded by thousands of angry insects ready to defend it. We don't have proof of the first person who ever robbed a wild beehive, but we've got something almost as cool. A painting on a cave wall in eastern Spain, at a site called Cuevas de la Araña. It shows a human figure dangling on what looks like a rope or vine ladder, reaching into a crack in the rock where bees have built their nest. It's widely considered the oldest surviving image of humans deliberately gathering honey anywhere on Earth. Its exact age is debated, somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 years old, and dating cave art is genuinely tricky. But the scene? The scene needs no explanation. Someone climbing toward danger, high enough that a fall could kill them, surrounded by insects that sting again and again, all for something sweet. Sit with that for a second, because it completely changes what sugar meant for most of human history. It wasn't a snack. It wasn't a habit. It was a calculated risk, one you took maybe a few times a year if you were lucky and skilled. Sugar wasn't something you had. It was something you earned at real physical cost. And that scarcity, that's the piece we've totally lost today. That's the hinge this whole story turns on. Because at some point, in a place thousands of miles from that Spanish cave, people stopped searching for sugar and started growing it. The best evidence points to the highlands of New Guinea. That's where a wild grass got tamed into what we now call sugarcane, probably around 6,000 to 8,000 years ago. And a big 2025 genetic study tracing hundreds of modern cane varieties confirmed New Guinea as the true origin. But here's what's easy to miss. The beginning was humble. These early farmers weren't refining anything fancy. They grew cane to feed their pigs and to chew raw, sucking out the sweet juice, spitting out the fiber. That's it. Sugar was still just a plant you ate with your hands. The crazy part, the part that would reshape empires and human health forever, hadn't happened yet. That came later in India. Somebody figured out how to boil cane juice down, cool it, and turn it into solid crystals. Historians argue about exactly when. Maybe as early as 500 BCE, maybe a few centuries later. But what it meant isn't up for debate. A liquid that spoiled fast and traveled badly became a solid, storable, tradable thing. In Sanskrit, they called it sharkara, meaning grit or gravel. And yep, that's literally the root of the word sugar. From India, it spread. Sailors carried it toward China. Later, Chinese envoys actually traveled to India just to learn the refining secrets. It moved into Persia, then finally reached Europe, where it showed up as a rare, expensive luxury, more like a spice or a medicine than a food. And for a long time, that's all it was. Rare, costly, saved for the rich or the sick. And that scarcity had a strange effect on human bodies, one you can still see in the teeth of the dead. Scientists studying ancient skeletons found a pattern. As people shifted toward heavy farming, especially grain farming, cavities went up. Makes sense. Starchy grains break down into sugars in your mouth, feeding the same bacteria. But, and this matters, the story's not as clean as people say. A 2019 reanalysis found the cavity rates between farmers and hunter-gatherers actually overlapped by more than 70%. Climate mattered too. So that famous farming wrecked our teeth idea, it's an oversimplification, which begs the question, if farming alone didn't cause our modern tooth problems, what did? The answer came from a brilliant 2013 study. Scientists looked at hardened dental plaque on 34 skeletons, spanning about 7,500 years of European history. They were reading ancient bacterial DNA, a fossilized snapshot of the germs living in these people's mouths. At first, exactly what you'd expect. Teeth got a little worse when farming began. But then, silence. For thousands of years, right up to about 400 years ago, the mouth bacteria stayed remarkably stable. And then, everything changed. Fast. During the Industrial Revolution. That's when the cavity-causing bacteria we all carry today suddenly took over. Think about that. The farming revolution took 10,000 years and caused a modest shift. The Industrial Revolution took barely 200 years and caused a bigger one. So what happened? One word: supply. Sugar stopped being something you climbed a cliff for. It became something manufactured on a massive scale, grown on huge Caribbean plantations using enslaved labor, and shipped to Europe in amounts no earlier century could imagine. The numbers are staggering. In Britain, sugar eaten per person jumped from around 4 pounds a year in 1700 to about 18 pounds a year by 1800. A four-fold explosion in a single century. That's the real turning point. Not the ancient primate tasting fruit. Not the Bronze Age human risking a fall for honey. Not even the invention of sugar crystals in India. It's barely 200 years old. The moment an ancient craving, built over tens of millions of years, got handed an unlimited, cheap, year-round supply of exactly what it always wanted. Your body was never built for that. It was built for scarcity. For a world where sweetness meant a lucky fruit find or a dangerous climb, a handful of times a year at most. The craving is ancient. The abundance is not. And almost everything about how sugar messes with you now, the cavities, the cravings that never quit, that feeling that you can never get enough, comes from that mismatch. Not from a flaw in your willpower, not from some weakness in your character. Which brings us right back to the spoon. Small, ordinary, forgettable. It's not asking anything hard of you. It doesn't need you to climb a rope ladder or wait for fruit season or sail across an ocean. It just needs you to reach for it, the way your biology has been begging you to since long before humans even existed. The sweetness dissolving in your cup right now, it's answering a craving older than your entire species. Only the ease is new. So if this blew your mind even a little, stick around. We make videos like this every single week about ancient human behavior, about what your body still remembers, about the gap between the world you were built for and the one you actually live in. Hit subscribe if you want more. See you in the next one.